Guys, welcome here from Montenegro. This is the river Moravca. It's a very beautiful area here of this town, and I call for Montenegro to join the European Union in 2024. Don't get me wrong, it's easy to say somewhere in the future Mr. Macron will also support this country, probably after he is no longer in power. But now he has won the election, and now it's time for this country to join the European Union, and it's the only logical answer to the Russian war. Montenegro, of course, is where the Russians are interested strategically since 250 years. The access to the Adriatic, the port of Bar, the whole question of the First World War. Everything is connected very much with Montenegro, let's not forget. And they are really very angry that they lost Montenegro to NATO in 2017, and that was a big success. This country is firmly based in the West. It's part of NATO. It's very good, This was a major success of our NATO enlargement strategy, and it's of course, something really to be celebrated. I always celebrate NATO enlargement in Montenegro because it's amazing. I'm very happy. And I see there's a lot of NATO flags as well, but for security I brought one with me because I always want to be independent with my flags, because I like to travel with my flags to make it very clear, visible, what we can do, what we should do, and how we should move ahead. And Montenegro obviously is now very good allied with Albania. It makes me very happy because I was always for Balkan Benelux, you know that of course, that this is important. And Montenegro is also very close ally with Ukraine. I don't have all my flags here, don't worry, because some I left in the hotel. I still have to check in, but I wanted to make an early tour to make it very clear that we are ready for this beautiful country to be in the European Union, and it's well deserved so. They have done all the reform, from flat tax to euro to EU regulatory alignment, to all the trade reforms. It's really amazing country and I love it. It's perfect. So what can count against Montenegro in the EU? I made it already clear to be 28. We have a lot of experience. We just recently were 28 until the Russian broke out the United Kingdom, and Montenegro will certainly not be more complicated than the United Kingdom. It will also not be very costly. It's of course a developing country, but it is not a very poor country anymore. It has caught up to, for example, that beautiful country of Bulgaria, relatively good in the last years. They have done a lot of reforms here, and they have overcome many things, and they have really good touristic investment opportunities here. And there is a lot of international investors, as you have seen on my podcast already in the last winter tour, and before I showed you many of these things. So what else can be against Montenegro? I really don't know. Maybe it's not clean enough. I showed you the aluminium works, and I will also try to show you the steel works in Nikšić. True, Yugoslavia has left some disaster, but on the other hand, if it's well managed and cleaned up, it is also industrial assets. Then the last years, the Russians were of course cheaper with their cheap energy, but now the Russians are out of our markets forever. So now it makes more sense to invest and also to take more responsibility for the Nikšić steelwork, for the bauxite mines, for the other mineral resources, but also aluminium, because we should basically take it over, the EU, directly. I'm for state ownership via the EU of such assets, because the small countries cannot manage them very well. The EU in general can. And then it's better to do this project on the European level. It's an aluminium plant. We had in the past imported a lot of aluminium from Russia, from the factories which were built in the Second World War. And now they are in with Deripaska, all of them. He basically privatized them somehow with the help of Putin, basically stealing them, and then we allowed them to take over these assets in our countries as well, and that was a big mistake. So now it's time for the EU EIB, to take the ownership, and the EBRD, there can be joint ownership with the government, of course, of the EU and of Montenegro, and then to invest and to build it up and to produce aluminium here. And of course, to invest in the solar capacity. That is absolutely possible to invest here. This country can produce 5,000 megawatt of solar. Of course, that costs a lot. They cannot fund that alone. I know that as well. But the irresponsibility of the last 30 years to neglect the countries completely is utterly shocking, appalling. I was criticizing that already 15 years, but Now, he took a Russian war for the sleepy guys in Germany, Austria, the xenophobes, the protectionists, the irresponsible guys who are unfortunately our political elite, yeah, who are then basing their policy on xenophobia, protectionism. It's too expensive. Yeah. How often, when I campaigned for Ukraine in the EU, how often did I hear that this is too expensive for Sebastian Kurz and for Mrs. Merkel? Yeah? And now imagine what the cost of that war are. I say 1.5 trillion will be the EU funding all over for this cost. Yeah? And that's probably a relative realistic, that's not including UK, American funding and all the other costs, the indirect costs. It's only for the state. What it costs the consumer in higher prices and all these things. Yeah? It is absolutely tremendous cost, and investing before would have been 1/10 of the cost. Listening to me as representative of European taxpayers would have been much better. Take responsibility early, invest early, because the problems don't go away. Anybody who knows history knows exactly that the problems from Bulgaria to Finland at the border with Turkey and with Russia will not go away. They are very decisive for the First World War, for the Second World War, for many wars before, and they are just, now exploding. And we then say, oh yes, no, let's withdraw, let's not touch them, let's appease Russia. That was the strategy of the last 30 years, and it failed completely. No, we need responsibility. Responsibility means integration of all the countries who want, from Finland to Bulgaria, in NATO, EU and the Euro. Now in Finland it happened, and it is amazing. And a lot of people who were following my tweets, they knew that they were saying, oh, Günther is always for Finland in NATO, it will never happen, he must be crazy. And now it happened. And I'm in favor of Montenegro in the EU, and the people will say, oh, my friends from Brussels will say, oh, Günther, no, Albania is Muslims, Ukraine is expensive, NATO for Austria, what you're saying, Montenegro in the EU, no! You guys, it will be. It will all be. And the ones who are faint-hearted, who don't believe in our unification because they think only short term, or they are Austrian xenophobes or German protectionist or whatever, socialist or communist or nationalist or whatever kind of ists. And they don't believe in freedom, they don't believe in European nations to choose their destiny and their alliances and their memberships. They don't believe in investment, they don't believe in capitalism, they don't believe in freedom for the people. That's the problem, that's these people, and they're unfortunately in power. That's a very sad thing here. Anyhow, it's a very beautiful day, so I don't want to get into negative mood here about our lack of political education in the political classes of Central Europe especially, and their short-sightedness. That would be too tremendous a topic to touch here in Podgorica under the bridge. And I really like it here. This is beautiful. I will continue my little tour. Here, for example, is the city beach of Podgorica. It's extremely hot, so the normal thing is to sit in a beach bar. But I have to be honest that I did already. And for me, normally, beach bars is enough for about 15 minutes swimming. And then it's get a bit boring. And I like to do podcasting in hot and in cold and in rainy cities. As long as they are European cities and they want to be in NATO and in the EU, I'm very happy with that. And I will show you some of these beautiful places. Here again, one of the government buildings, because here we are in the central governmental district. The hills to the north, this is the Hotel Podgorica. Over there the south, now the west, that must be the north then. That's towards Budva, that's the river, and here the governmental district. I will walk and talk you through it. I don't know all the buildings now. Where's the parliament? Where's the government? The presidential palaces? I don't know that, but I will find out. Very good. Very good. Very good. This is a beautiful building. I will make some podcasting here. That could be something like the presidential building. Yeah, so many buildings, I don't know I have to find out. So much to learn of Montenegro, and that's what I will do during my visit here. I'm staying until Wednesday. I've neglected Podgorica a bit. I was not so attentive. What kind of building is here? Very good. That's really developed, yeah. In December I was here already. You can see many of my videos, and that's somehow the governmental row here. They have made a nice governmental district here, and that's the next building, and the next somewhere is the central bank. Remember my video on the central bank? It was very cool. I liked it. Yeah. That's another governmental building. That's another governmental building. A lot of government here. My free market friends will think it's too much government, but I say let's have European governments. That's very good. And let's have low taxation as they have it here. So that's very good. Here somewhere is the central bank. Montenegro needs a little bit more EU flags on the central government buildings. I'm not happy with that. There's not enough EU flags. Hello. There are some happy tourists. That's very good. I have to look, otherwise I crash into this. Here, this is Nikolai. That's the king of that beautiful country, and I will do another video here. He was obviously the king during the Balkan Wars, and obviously he has overseen, sadly, the loss of his kingdom when it was integrated into the first Yugoslavian kingdom, and it was not even mentioned his kingdom anymore. You have to imagine, they created the kingdom of Serbs, Slovenes, Croatians. They gave the Austrians the Croatians and the Slovenians, Bosnians no other choice than to join, but the Bosnians, Macedonians, Kosovo and Montenegrinians, Montenegro was an independent state before. They were not even mentioned in that kingdom because they were too small and they didn't want to be in that kingdom. Monarchy was disposed, and they were the big losers of World War I and the French obviously wanted to have here a big state against Germany. That was of course the idea, one big state, because they wanted to have a ring of state after Russia fell in the Russian Revolution. They wanted to have several, like Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania and Yugoslavia, this kind of four little entente you can call it, and that was the idea, and Montenegro didn't fit in that picture, so it was destroyed, and he died then in exile. All these things. I was in his museum, you can see it on my page in Bar. He was a great friend of Russia, but it didn't help him anything. He was also very warmongering, to be honest. Was one of the key battle warmongers of the Balkan Wars. He wanted to take Shkodra, and he annoyed everybody, and so he lost also a lot of support because he didn't listen to the Western powers when they asked him to kindly stop his war of aggression against Albania. So let's not forget that one. Good. Thanks a lot. I will make some photos and try to escape from the heat. Otherwise, I will also this part early with a heat stroke. Thanks a lot. More to come here from Pax Europiana.